What's up, everybody? I've passed the FTMO challenge 10 times now, 9 times on various different accounts, and once was a trial version. My most recent win was on January 10th from a couple of weeks ago, and this was on a $50,000 account. I passed the challenge requirements in 6 days and had a 66% win rate, which was pretty good. I also got it done in 33 trades. Starting this year, I've been limiting myself to 6 or less trades per day, and I mostly stuck to that. I went slightly over on 2 of the days. Overall, I'm very satisfied with my performance here. I pretty much have this down to a science by now. In passing the challenge all these times, I've come up with multiple different strategies. I am dead set on getting my Beamer this year, and I'm not playing any games. So I'll quickly go over what I think are the 2 best strategies for passing the challenge. First, there is the compounding strategy. This is the one that I used for the first 8 or 9 challenge wins. We'll use the $100,000 account for this example. The compounding formula rolls an additional trade into each win and ends up with a 63x gain on your risk using 3 reward. So you can take the profit target of $10,000 and divide that by 63. That gives us $158 to risk on our trades. We'll just round that up to 160 to make it easier, or 0.16% of the account size. You then take 3 very solid trades and win all 3 in a row, and that will give you $10,080 in profit. Keep in mind the FTMO accounts do take out commissions on each trade, and you also have to pay the spread, so the extra $80 should cover that. This simple formula allows you to pass the challenge in just 3 trades using very low risk. You have to keep in mind the max loss amount on the account is $10,000, even though it is a $100,000 account. So if you ever drop below $10,000, your account will immediately be terminated and you would have to start all over. So only using $160 risk, it would be almost impossible to drop down that low. It's very important to remember to choose only great trades with multiple things working in its favor. You want a good pattern, good relative strength to the market and other correlated pairs, good trading volume, all around just a top level trade. This, in my opinion, is the simplest way to pass the challenge. But for my 10th and most recent win, I tried a different and less stressful strategy. The issue with compounding using this formula is that you roll an additional trade into each new trade. So if you lose the second trade in the cycle, you've actually lost all of your winnings from the first trade plus an additional trade. And if you lose the third trade, you lose all of your winnings from the first 2 trades and an additional trade. Even though you can get the challenge done very quickly this way, it can be really stressful, especially losing the third trade in your compound cycle. So the less stressful, a little bit slower way is to use regular trades with no compounding. Again, I'll use a $100,000 account as an example. My very reasonable goal for each week is 5 to 15 R. A 0.4% risk on this account is $400. Getting an average of 10 reward per week will get you $4,000 weekly. It would take up to 3 weeks to get it done this way, but the stress level is way lower. You can relax a lot more without worrying about getting win streaks. I usually stay between a 70 to 80% win rate, but as long as you can maintain at least a 60 to 65% win rate, you'll be fine. I would still only trade very high probability patterns using this method, but they don't have to be super perfect. Just be careful and make sure not to go over 6 trades in a day. You will likely have a red day here and there, but it should only happen maybe once a week at the most. That way, having a red day or 2 won't do too much damage to your account. Those are my 2 methods I've come up with for passing the challenge using a scalping strategy. Every trade I take is either a 2 reward or a 3 reward, and getting to that 5 to 15 reward weekly is usually pretty easy. I'll show you a couple of the trades from the challenge that I passed that were really good top level trades, the kinds of trades you want to be looking for when attempting the FTMO challenge. All right, so I took my first trades on January 3rd. And we'll just look at a couple of the really good ones. So the first one we'll take a look at here is this USD JPY sell, and we'll be mostly focusing on the 5-minute chart and the 1-hour chart because that's usually the only charts that I use to trade. Occasionally I'll look over at the 15-minute and the 3-minute. Sometimes I'll look at the 4-hour and the daily as well. But for this trade here, you can see right at the start of the session down here on the hourly chart, we got a huge move up into a little bit of a move down, comes right back up. and that was a great place to take a sell. In my opinion, it just wasn't ready to continue going up. So I took my trade, I believe, right here with a 15 pip stop loss. So that's a 45 pip take profit. So that was a pretty quick trade. Went through really fast, actually. I believe that's maybe 45 minutes altogether. Pretty easy EMA trend continuation. And the next really good trade that I took was the USD CAD. This was on the following day, on January 4th. And as you can see down here on the hourly chart, we got a really big move down on the hourly chart, which is almost always a good sign to go ahead and continue on in that direction. It did consolidate for a couple of bars and then continued on down. And you can see down in the 5-minute chart, my favorite chart, got a really easy EMA trend continuation here. You could have either just used a sell stop right here, or you could have just waited for this really big bar here. Either one of those ways would have worked. I think the safest way would be to put your stop above the 21 EMA. So in this case, that would be a 28 pip stop loss, and that is an 84 pip take profit. These trades are from about a month ago, so I'm not really sure exactly where I took the trade on this move, but I know it was definitely on this move here. So if you did take the trade there, it did take a couple of hours, but that does happen occasionally with 3 reward, especially. Well, you definitely could have done 2 reward as well. That would have worked too. You could have even gone much further down. Very solid trade there. And the next really good trade that I took was on the 5th. And that was on the AUD USD pair. And I believe I took this one strictly off of the 5-minute chart. This was one of the rare times that I had time to trade the New York session instead of the London session. And this was a very easy trade here. You had a couple of different ways to enter. You could have entered right on this giant bar here, or you could have done it as a consolidation trend continuation. So it's about a 15 pip stop loss and 45 pip take profit if you're going for 3 reward, and that would have went through right there. So pretty quick trade overall. Looks like about maybe an hour and a half. So for 3 reward, that's really fast and just a very easy move. These happen, I would say, once or twice per week. You'll get a really easy move like this where it's almost guaranteed to go through. Those are the types of trades you want to go for. And the next really good trade that I took was on January 6th. This was actually red day. I believe the only red day that I had the whole entire time that I did the challenge. So I believe I went down to maybe 2,000 at one point. You can see I had a bunch of losses here, and I finally ended up seeing a really good opportunity on the GBP USD, and that was able to at least make it into not so bad of a red day. And you can see down here on the hourly, we had a really big move down, and it bounced over a couple times off of the 8 EMA. And usually when you have a very heavy trend on the hourly chart, that means that it's going to continue down. It might pause and consolidate for a little bit, but usually if you see a big move down after, it's a great place to enter. In this case, you would be selling. So there were a couple of those opportunities. All this over here was before the start of the session, but you could have definitely gotten in. You could have definitely gotten in on this giant bar here. That would have been a good spot. But I'd personally like to wait until the start of the session. Usually it's just good practice to wait until the chaos of the start of the session, wait for that to wear off, and then take your trades maybe 10-20 minutes into the session. It tends to get a little bit crazy at the start. So the best place in my opinion would be right here. So that is a 15 pip stop loss, which is a 45 pip take profit for 3 reward, and that went through right over here. So overall, it was a pretty quick trade, very easy trade. This is another one of those trades that almost is guaranteed to be a winner. And again, that's the ones you want to be looking for, especially if you're compounding. And one of the next really good trades was on January 9th. I believe this was a Monday, and this was on the NZD-U pair. And you can see here down on the hourly chart, we got a really big move up, small consolidation into another giant move up. And again, on these really heavy trends, especially on the hourly chart, it's usually better to go in the direction of the trend rather than trying to fish for a reversal. The energy is just very it's got a lot of momentum in one direction. You usually just want to look for an entry in that direction. So for this trade here, this is a little trick that you'll learn once you've traded for a while. The start of the session, if you get a really big move down like this in the middle of a heavy trend that's going up, most likely it's going to shoot up really quickly, and that's exactly what happened here. So I believe this was a 7 pip stop loss, and that's a 21 pip take profit. So that trade was extremely fast, and it went through, it looks like, in maybe 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. So this is just something that comes with experience. Once you've been trading long enough, this is a little trick that you can use. Happens pretty often, I would say a couple times a week. And January 10th was the day that I passed the challenge, and I would say probably the best trade from that day was on the GBP USD. And this was a very similar situation, very similar to the last trade on the NZDU, but pretty much same thing here. You got a big move up on the hourly chart. So we're looking for buy trades, long trades here. Just multiple different opportunities as usual. You've got one here, and I believe the one that I took was actually right here. So this is the same type of trick that I used on the last trade. I believe I used a 7 pip stop loss, and that's a 21 pip take profit for through your board. And that went through right there. Once again, if a very heavy trend, it ends up going down and the session opens while it's still a little bit lower than it should be, it's most likely going to reverse back into the original direction of the heavy trend that's on the hourly chart. This happens all the time. I just showed you 2 examples in a row, and this is a little trick that I've learned in my 3+ years of trading that works very well. You don't have to risk much. You can just use 1% risk, or even less than that if you want to, 0.1% if you want to go for something easier, since it is a little bit of a risky strategy, but it more often than not will work. This will be the strategy that I go with from now on. I mentioned in my last video that compounding is superior to regular trading by a lot, but the stress level is very high. I would like to trade regularly for maybe a year or 2 longer until I'm more experienced. Then I might switch over to a full-time compounding strategy to maximize profits. I would say the best way to do these challenges is to assume that it will take you 3 to 4 weeks to finish. That way you aren't in a rush to get winning trades. You have 30 days to finish the challenge portion. Also, there is a 14-day extension if you aren't able to finish it in time. I made an entire video about that, so you can check that one out too. I'll put it up at the top here. If you take it slowly and be patient, it's much easier to avoid losses. On a $50,000 account, getting a healthy 10 reward per week using 0.3 risk is a $1,500 profit for the week. Not bad at all. And if you get all the way up to a $400,000 account, which is FTMO's max amount of funding, using that same amount of risk would get you $12,000 weekly. This is a very easily achievable and low risk way of making an additional income. If you stay consistent with your trading long enough, it can even be a full-time income. So that's my video for today. I took a little break from making YouTube videos because honestly, I was pretty burnt out, but I'm back in the swing of things now, and you can expect more consistent content. I will be doing either daily breakdowns of my trading sessions or maybe even live streaming my trade sessions in the future. I just need to figure out which way will work around my schedule. These videos do take a couple of hours to put together, so I'll need to do some more planning on that. Be sure to press the like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more forex trading and investing content. Also, head over to my website at www.ccxcollective.com if you're interested in learning more about trading. Version 2.5 of the course is in the works, and this will be a free upgrade for anyone who purchased version 2.0 or 1.0. Remember to always trade responsibly, and I'll see you guys later.